Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Legal Blend podcast here in Hasbrouck Heights, New Jersey today with a special guest, someone that we've never had on before, not even in that area of expertise. But before I get to that, I want to speak about Uptown Coffee Company in Maywood, New Jersey. They are right on Pleasant Avenue. They were established about 2.5 years ago. And the reason why I bring them up, from our office, it's about a 5-minute drive. But if you walk into their coffee shop, number one, great coffee. Two, the ambiance, great with a little fireplace. You can sit down, do your work, study. And they took over an establishment called the Stray Cat, and they wanted to found a place, a meeting spot for the community, which was a cool, hip spot to unite with friends, family, and they also sell pastries. So if you have a chance, whenever you're in the area, walk in, say hello. We actually have a coffee back here from Uptown Coffee Company. And again, amazing place, highly recommend. Please feel free to visit them. And when you come in, say hi from the Legal Blend podcast. But without further ado, I'm very, very happy to have Erika Sensbach from Voyage Therapy. Erika is joining us, the first ever professional psychotherapist on our podcast. Welcome, Erika.
Thank you.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about who you are as far as your professional experience. So we have Erika from Voyage Therapy in Jersey City, New Jersey. Erika has experience with individuals who are 18 and older, correct? Mm-hmm. She serves the populations of C-suite executives, pro athletes, young professionals, really anyone going through a period of, what would we call it? Grief, transition, or we'll talk about maybe not even in that period, but someone who wants someone to talk to, right? Erika is trained in Imago. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yep. Okay. Imago.
Imago with couples through all stages of the relationship, and she can be an asset to those couples in those sessions. Erika runs her private practice, like I said, out of Jersey City, New Jersey. Erika, how long has Voyage Therapy been in existence?
So I've had my LLC since 2014, and I've been using it kind of on and off, but I went into full private practice about 1.5 years ago.
Perfect. And you hold a master's in clinical counseling from?
Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Perfect. So I have a lot for you today, Erika.
Yeah, I bet.
So Erika, right off the bat, I have to ask you, what is Imago? I think I'm pronouncing it right. What is Imago? What does it mean? What is it? It sounds very good. So, I mean.
Yeah. So Imago means mirror. It's the Latin word for it. So a mirror image. And Imago is a structured communication style and a dialogue between the two individuals. So sometimes people will go to couples therapy and they say, we've done it before, but it felt like the therapist was the ref in the room. This person airs their grievances, the therapist says something. That person airs their grievances, the therapist says something. Well, in Imago, the work is actually really done between the couple. So we're actually aligned in how a couple would dialogue.
Okay.
We'd be a little closer, knee to knee, heart to heart.
Wow.
But it would work this way, which is a very different way than some other theories for couples therapy.
Right, yeah, because you see someone in one corner of the room, the other person over here, and then someone in the middle. Mm-hmm. But we'd be face to face.
Yeah, we'd be face to face, and then you wouldn't even have to see me because the work's done between.
So you're probably somewhere around here?
Yeah, I'm there, but they don't have to necessarily look at me. And I tell people that I'm just there to really coach them through it. So it's like I said, very structured communication style, which is ideal because it allows each person to feel heard and understood. And I think I've told you this before outside of here, men love Imago.
I feel like I would like it.
Yeah, because it's structured, right? And we're in line. And what I do is I help provide what we call stems, which allows the people to really stay curious and see what comes up for them. So when one person speaks, the other person listens. So we have a sender and a receiver. And the sender is the one that's doing the topic. And then the receiver will mirror back what that person said word for word. Not a memory test, but they try to get it as best as they can.
So Erika, kind of like an example, I'm just thinking out loud, right? Tell me if I'm on the right track. When you came home from work the other night, I wanted to tell you about an important part of my day, but you rushed to cook dinner and you were in a bad mood. I didn't feel like you listened to me.
Yeah. So I heard you say when I got home from work, you wanted to tell me about your day, and I rushed and cooked dinner. Did I get you?
Yep.
Is there more?
I wish you wouldn't do it.
I heard you say you wish I wouldn't do it. And that's that process. That's the sending and the receiving.
Okay.
And then there's a level of validation and empathy. We start always with appreciations, and not like backdoor appreciations. For example, because I'm sure we may have done this in all of our relationships. I appreciated that you took the trash out today because you never do it, you know. So we leave that second part out,
Right, right.
and we just appreciate.
A backhanded comment, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I laugh because
It feels familiar.
Stephanie, if you're watching.
Yeah. We'll never use that example. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right.
And we set intentions, and we ask, how do I want to show up today? We look at takeaways at the end. And then through the time together in Imago, we look at our relationship vision, which sounds really familiar to some things about how do we want to build a life together, What are the things that we want to do together? How do we align? Because sometimes when there's conflict, our vision's lost. Yeah. Or it gets muddy if something doesn't go our way. So to come back to how do we build that vision? And compromise, or middle ground.
Yeah.
If one person wants to travel 6 months out of the year and the other person doesn't, how do we dialogue about finding something that makes sense for us?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, you should sign up for the Calm app because I feel like your voice would be good for the Calm app. If you want, let's get started with, I like to call it your why, right? Mm-hmm. So, what is a professional psychotherapist and why become one?
So I actually went to college undecided. I was more interested in playing lacrosse and gaining the college experience. I knew what I didn't want to do, and I knew that I wanted my master's and to work with people in some way. I had thought about being a history major, but I wasn't really sure what I would do personally with that degree after graduation.
Okay.
But now when I look back, what's history?
Yesterday.
The story of people's lives.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense. And I'm an empathetic and helper by nature. So when I started taking some psych classes and I heard about the counseling program, something just clicked.
We have here at Voyage Therapy, it says Erika Sensbach, LPC, and LCADC. So let's talk about that first acronym. What is LPC?
So it means that I can do therapy. So when I went to college, I studied specifically therapy. There's a lot of different licenses out there, but this one really kind of allows us to be in this space.
Okay. And what does LCADC stand for?
A licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor.
Oh, so you do drug and alcohol counseling as well?
So right now, I'm working with individuals with sustained periods of sobriety or individuals impacted by a loved one's use.
And what is your ideal client profile? I don't want to say ideal. Maybe what is your most frequent client profile that you're seeing nowadays?
Yeah, so whether it's individuals or couples, I see a lot of people struggling within relationships, whether it's lack of boundaries, poor communication skills, relationship conflict. And I also see a lot of people in transitions, new moms, new dads, maybe navigating a career or a job change. Also, believe it or not, retirement.
Retirement?
Yeah.
How so?
A lot of people don't really recognize that that's a major life change. We work all day for how many years, right? And we work our whole life to get to retirement. Right. And then we have to look at, how else do I fill my time? And for a lot of people, it's a big loss because you're used to having coworkers and those types of interactions.
Right. No, I can only imagine. I never thought of it that way. So you mentioned relationships, conflict in relationships, certain transitions. When is the right time? When do I, for example, say, I need to speak to Erika? Is it in the middle of the situation? Is that too late? When does that happen? When should I think about that?
Well, there's a big myth out there that you need to be in a crisis to start therapy. but that's not actually the case.
Okay.
It's important that we have, skills and tools so we can utilize things in everyday life. So people will come to me in times of crisis, but I always tell people, it's healthier to have something lined up.
And healthier to have something lined up as in how? So, because we do a lot of, as you know, do a lot of divorces, domestic violence, things like that. And most of the time when we're in the middle of a divorce or applying for divorce, filing for divorce, shit has already hit the fan, right? Yeah. So we rarely have a couple who comes in and says, oh, we're still talking, we're still living together, everything is, peachy, but you want to file for divorce, right? It's usually something has happened, whether it's adultery, finances, like you said, job changes sometimes, right? So for a divorcing couple, let's say, when would you ideally like to see them come in?
So really when there's any type of conflict where we're not able to get it resolved, a lot of the times, at least in the Imago theory, they talk about how couples come 7 years later than they really should.
Wow.
And you don't have to be in this massive conflict to be able to seek therapy. And let's say though that they are ready for divorce or separation, we can teach them how to say goodbye. Wow,
okay. But let's say we have a couple or an individual who are saying, I see this episode with Erika that you did, Kaefer. How do I go about starting this process? So can we take, let's say, this hypothetical couple or individuals through this process? So they see this episode, they say, I like Erika, I want to reach out to her. How do they start this process?
Sure. Well, the best way to reach out, you can call or you can email me, but I always encourage clients to email me since I find it to be the most effective way to get back to somebody.
Okay. And one of the big things I always hear all the time, I'm sure you could relate, is, okay, Kaefer, that's great. Your recommendation referral, I trust you. But is she going to charge a lot? Does my insurance take, or does she accept my insurance? How much is it if I want to pay out of pocket? How do I even go about this? How do I find out if my insurance covers it, right? So what would you say to those common questions?
Sure, and I offer complimentary consultations. And during that time, I like to hear why the couple is coming to me or the individual is coming to me. And I also can tell them a little bit about my practice. And with that is in the conversation about insurance. So I am an out-of-network provider, which means I work with the majority of out-of-network benefits.
Okay.
And out-of-network is not as scary as people might think.
It sounds scary, yeah.
Yeah. Well, people think, oh no, right? Like it must, if it's not in network, it must be something else. But most insurance companies cover 50 to 80% of the fee after the deductible is met. And it depends on the plan. But I always encourage clients to reach out to their insurance companies, and then they can circle back and we can have a conversation about what that looks like for them.
Okay, and so they don't even have insurance, obviously they can pay out of pocket, correct?
Yeah, currently on my caseload, I have individuals who are considered self-pay. So either they don't have insurance or they might not have favorable out-of-network benefits. But I do accept HSA and FSA cards, which can really help balance the cost of medical.
Now, if you don't mind, I know a lot of viewers are going to have these questions, and I want to run these questions by you. Yeah. Because I think I myself, in the beginning, before doing divorce and family law, had these myths, misconceptions, or common questions. So if you don't mind, if we can get into those. Yeah? Okay. So I laugh because I think this is the number one question we even get all the time as divorce attorneys, Stephanie and I. Infidelity. Do you see a lot of it?
I do, yeah.
And the big question is, can couples come back from it? Is it possible?
I believe so, and I've seen it. And I've even seen couples come back even stronger. Conflict, even though not ideal, can really be the opportunity for growth.
Conflict, though not ideal, can be the opportunity for growth.
Not ideal in the moment. In the moment, right? Because you're going through it and it's just like...
No, that's a very good snippet because people don't see it that way, right? Infidelity, I think about it as little kids. You have a good friend, a best friend in the playground, you give them a lollipop, and then they take the lollipop or they throw it, or they give it to another friend that's not their best friend, and you feel it's immense hurt as a little kid, right? Yeah. Imagine someone going behind your back in a relationship and being with somebody else intimately, or not even intimate,
emotionally.
It doesn't have to be emotionally, right?
Yeah, it can be all those things.
So, but you've seen people bounce back.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pigeonhole you, but let's say 50% of the time, because a lot of viewers, trust me, they're leaning closer to the screen saying, how many? Is it possible? Because a lot of people find themselves in this position.
Yeah. And I'm going to say something that may not be really received well. But in infidelity work, it's really important that both parties really ask themselves, like, how did I show up to the relationship?
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know, may not be received well, but it really is an important question.
So, meaning, if I interpret that correctly,
Yeah.
it's not always one person's fault. It could be,
It may not be.
both can contribute to it.
Yeah, where we, maybe one person may have strayed, but did I stray in my own way too?
Gotcha.
You know? And if we want to make this work, right, there's really got to be a willingness to tweak patterns of behavior.
Okay. And what would you say, staying on this track of infidelity, from the couples that do make it and bounce back and become stronger, what's the number one thing you see that contributes to that rebound, that bouncing back? What's one characteristic you see that helps?
Communication.
Communication also leads to quicker divorces. So there you go. You try to stay together or having a quick divorce.
It can be both, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Things can be both.
100%,
Yeah.
because
healthy communication.
Healthy, okay.
Right?
That's another type of, yeah.
And listening and hearing the person. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes we don't always feel heard in our own relationships.
Correct. I've seen like on TV shows, right, where they say, I acknowledge that you feel this way. Now I'm letting you know, and hopefully you acknowledge that I feel this way, right? Because sometimes people say things in relationships and someone's mowing the lawn or washing dishes, right? And
Yeah, it's not a good time.
Yeah, okay. It piques my interest because our number one reel at our law firm, Garcia Law, our number one divorce tip that I gave was most couples struggle in divorces where they can't sit, across the table from one another and say, I want this, I want that. And like you said, say goodbye too,
Yeah,
right?
you can teach them how to say goodbye.
But also communication helps with staying in the marriage. What would you say would be the number one thing that's negative, that is not conducive to bouncing back, that you see?
Lack of willingness to try. I mean, a lot of the times you have a dragger and a draggee. So you have one primary person, maybe you see this in divorces too. You maybe have one primary person that is like, I really want to do this, and they're kind of dragging the other one along. The other person shows up because they don't want to hear it anymore, or maybe there's a little curiosity. Right. But even the willingness to be the draggee.
Yeah, because it's kind of enabling, right? Do they enable? If I'm the draggee, if someone's dragging me in a relationship and says, let's make this work because I want it to work, and I don't say much, am I enabling that dragger? Is that the right term, dragger?
Yeah, dragger, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we enable, though, in a healthy manner so we can move forward together? And regardless, right? Like we might enter, let's say, couples therapy, and regardless, we might grow for ourselves. Sure. So growth can happen either together or individually, or both.
And if they grow individually, does that mean divorce, or that means they can grow individually and still stay together, usually?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to care for their connection, I mean, if you think about your own relationships, we grow and change and evolve consistently throughout our life.
100%.
Right? But do we want to stretch and grow together, or do we want to go that way? Yeah.
No, it's very interesting because always, I would say you want to be in relationships where you build together, right? And have goals together. But you're right, some people might not be aligned that way and even longer throughout the relationships. So we were talking about, you mentioned communication, and the number one tip for couples to bounce back from infidelity is communication. And then you mentioned the term healthy communication. Now, I think I know what you mean by that. What would be an example of healthy communication that you've seen or that you recommend, right?
Yeah, so communication does work two ways. So it's speaking, and then it's hearing. And a lot of the times, like you were mentioning a little bit before, it's about, I don't want to say timing, but we might not want to have some of these deeper conversations when someone's working on a work email, or if they're trying to put the kids to sleep, or I want to talk to somebody when I'm walking out the door. So sometimes it's about asking our partner, is now a good time to talk about this topic? And
if, for example, the partner says, no, not right now, or it's not important right now, something else is more important, I'm guessing you see that one of the spouses, one of the partners says, well, it's never a good time, right? I'm
Yeah.
sure you hear that, right?
Yeah.
For
yeah.
him or her, it was never a good time for me to talk about my feelings, right? Is that where couples lose hope? Is that where couples start the downward spiral? In your experience, I'm just curious, because a lot of people ask us, as a family law attorneys, or tell us, it all went south, I remember, when this happened, or this started happening. Should couples start losing hope when that starts happening? They can't express their feelings. There's no time for it.
Then as a partner, is it maybe part of our responsibility to ask then, when is a good time? Or can we come back to this? Right? And that's part of that communication too. We can say, okay, I'll never speak about it. Or we can say, when you're done your task, would that be a better time?
And then that brings me to other types of couples we see, where I'm sure you see it. We've seen it even before they file for divorce in their clients and other type of cases where one spouse or partner says, talks all the time. And there comes a point where the other person says, they switch off. They say, I'll just let him or her just talk and I'll say yes, right?
Yeah.
What about those couples, right? Have they lost hope because that person switched off? We talk about willingness, communication, but I would say communication non-existent. The other person who's talking probably thinks so. Or that willingness, the other person probably just resigned, right? What about those couples? What would you say about them?
Well, I can't help but think that it's what we like to call the octopus and the turtle in Imago, right? So the octopus has the big emotions, right? Think about it, like all the tentacles, right? Maybe like we have to talk, or what's the matter, right? And then the turtle, what do turtles do? They go in their shell. And then sometimes we have snapping turtles.
Okay. Okay. And what's a snapping turtle? I'm curious.
Somebody who might implode then explode. So I'm going to, harbor my feelings, and then I'm going to just kind of explode. So that can be arguments, yelling. We also call these things exits. So people might use some things to exit the relationship. So that could be substance use. It could be being on their phone the whole time, tuning out and watching sports.
Gotcha, okay.
Leaving the house. There's so many different exits that people use.
Okay. And it keeps in my mind what you said in the very beginning. Yeah. You could also help saying goodbye, right? So one of the questions we get a lot is, how do you know when is the right time to let go of a person, right? In your sessions, do you talk about that, or do people ask you probably, am I at a point where I have to let go? Should I let go? I feel dumb, right? Well, what do you say to that?
Well, a lot of the work is around our non-negotiables. And what are my wants, my needs, and my desires? Am I feeling fulfilled? We're never going to be fulfilled in just one relationship, right? We need like a lot of different outlets in our life.
I thought you were going to propose monogamy. Polyamory. No, you don't mean that, right? No, okay.
Talk about like friends and family and like maybe like going to the gym,
Okay. So you need, not one relationship is going to fulfill you, maybe many, right?
Yeah, we need to fill our cup in a lot of different ways.
Okay. So you talk about gym, what else?
Yeah, the gym, friends, family, like activities. Right. But if this one relationship, let's say our partner relationship, is really not fulfilling me in general, right? Am I feeling a lot of distress? Is it affecting other areas of my life? Am I going against my values and my morals to stay in this relationship?
And then some mediators in family law, right, or us divorce attorneys would say, but everything's a compromise, Erika, right? Everything's a compromise. Do I have too many non-negotiables? Is that a problem, you see?
Why settle?
I agree. We agree on that. Why settle?
Why settle? There's things that are a compromise, but compromise isn't always 50-50. And sometimes we might have to, let's say, compromise less in a certain stage of a relationship. Or maybe we're compromising more. But it depends. But I don't know if it's really that simple, that it's compromise.
It never is, right? Never is. So we have a couple waiting to get married, right? they have to compromise on the napkin colors, the dresses, and the cake and all that. When, and I'm just throwing a question out to you, it just came into my head. When in a relationship, as a couple, let's say, do you say there are too many red flags? Like, is one, is it two, is it three? Maybe it's a type of red flag, right? Like, in your experience, top three reasons why couples break down and split. What are the top three reasons you see?
Not everyone actually talks about if they want kids or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait,
I heard
so,
that.
wait.
Yeah.
So you have, well,
If we're talking about like a serious
I can believe
couple.
it. Yeah, like a serious couple. So you have couples that come to you who say, I didn't know, or she or he wanted three. I just wanted one. Well, I don't want any.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's number one, okay.
Yeah, believe it or not, people actually don't always talk about those topics. There's a lot of assumptions or stories that we tell ourselves, or when the time comes to it, maybe it's like, ooh, do I really?
Okay, that kind of sucks, but okay, okay. What else? What other two top reasons?
What about even like career choice? You know, like if maybe one person is really pushing themselves in the career, does that mean, and the other person feel like they have to take their step back?
Take the back seat.
Yeah.
Because they're successful in their career, but what about my career? What are my sacrifices, right? Okay, I could see that. What about the third reason?
Family.
Interesting. How so?
In-laws. I could have just led with that one. In-laws.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of conflict at times.
Right.
I'm sure we've all experienced family dynamics.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes more complicated, right? Where it's not just black and white, but when you add culture, social norms, cultural norms, right?
Expectations placed on you
Yeah.
by other family members, in-laws. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. Those are good reasons. Okay. So in your top three, not really, you see a lot of conflict resulting from infidelity, I would say. Those are more common.
Yeah, I see a lot of infidelity work.
I know a lot of viewers want to know, in your experience, this is just your experience, you see more women cheating, more men cheating? Do you see? Or is it kind of same?
I know, that's a loaded question there. I've seen, at least in my experience, I've seen more men cheat sexually, more women cheat emotionally.
And emotionally, because sexually, physical, it's a little bit more easier to...
Clear defined.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But emotionally, how so? Meaning emotionally available, or how? Like, and I always have this discussion, right? Because I always say, is this cheating? Texting a coworker, right? And being emotionally available for the coworker, not your spouse. Or going out with coworkers or friends and not being at home, right? I guess, what is emotional cheating and how do you define it?
I think it's really defined by the couple. What does it look like for them? Yeah. And emotionally cheating, it can be like situationships or,
Okay.
you know, like long conversations on Facebook or connecting or meeting people out, you know? Or
You just had an event on that, right? Well, what was that event about?
yeah, I partnered with Hoboken Ladies Meetup, and we did a group about, you know, dating and everything about being single. Dating in the digital age.
Wow.
Dating in like Hudson County, New York area. Yeah, it's tough out there.
I can imagine a lot of good stories.
A lot of relatable stories amongst everybody in the group. So this idea of universality, like I feel so alone in the dating world, but yet there's so many other people that may feel the same way.
But that just blows my mind, right? Because this is a thing that always pops up, right? But we have the ability to connect to people within a few clicks on our phone. What is it? Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now. You literally can video chat a person halfway across the world, right? But we feel alone. In your experience, what leads to that loneliness? If we're what you see in your sessions, right? Why do we feel alone? Why do we feel alone if people are so accessible now?
And I think it's accessible in what way, right? Like what is the depth of these connections or these outreaches, and it's instant gratification.
100%.
You know, I mean, there's even these studies about the dopamine that gets released in your brain through how many likes and clicks. And I mean, I've never been on TikTok, but they say, people will say, I'm on that forever. You know, 2 hours have passed and you're just like flooded. And the thing is, it's with the instant gratification, it lasts a short time. So it's short-term gain, like long-term pain. So yeah, a lot of loneliness. You see it. I hear people a lot talk about like, I just don't feel connected. I feel alone. And I ask them like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I'll make comparisons to people on the internet. And it doesn't usually leave people feeling great.
Of course not.
Yeah. I always tell people, decrease your social media use. See how you feel.
Now, how does a person or a couple know they're a good fit with Erika Sensbach at Voyage Therapy? What determines a good fit? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, if they work in my areas of interests, relationship, transitions, I see a ton of anxiety and stress. Those tend to be kind of automatically good fits. Logistically, if our schedules line up. I'm never going to promise anybody, like, let's say, a time slot that I can't fulfill. Gotcha. And then, you know, I'll say the very therapeutic thing. A lot of the times during the consultations, there's like a vibe or a connection, kind of like a gut feeling, like if you know, you know. And I want to, you know, go with that.
Gotcha. Another, I would say misconception, I would call it, right? When I refer people to you know, mental health experts, I get a lot of the following. Well, yeah, if I go, they're going to sign me up for 4 sessions. The 4 sessions turn into 8 sessions. Then I spent money on 2 years, 3 years of therapy, and they just want to hold on to me, right? So as a psychotherapist, is there a moment where you say, okay, this person is okay to move on? Or how do you determine they're okay to move on? Because I would think as lawyers, our retention rate is great if it's high. For psychotherapists, does it work the same way?
So what I do in my sessions, whether it's couples or individuals, I'll continue to check in with them throughout our time together to make sure that they're comfortable with where we're at in their goals, and also to make sure it continues to be a value add. And sometimes clients will bring it up organically. We'll talk about, do you think I still need this?
Okay.
It can be, you know, it's really anything. I mean, the 2 most important things to me are, it would be a smooth transition out if we decide that this is time to discharge. So that might mean increasing time in between each session, and that we talk about it. Gotcha. My job is to model behavior of having uncomfortable conversations and to be proactive and to advocate for ourselves. To say, I think I'm okay.
And do you go in, because I know you handle professional athletes, C-suite executives. Are the problems that they experience, these type of individuals, with your normal blue-collar worker, right, let's say, middle-class family, are they similar to these issues, or they vary by economic class, social class?
We're humans. We all have the same range of emotions. And I think it really just depends on where their main stressors are at that point. Maybe the stress level at work might be different compared to somebody else.
Because in divorces, you know, there's high asset divorces and you're normal, it's never simple, but traditional divorce, let's say. But we see the same issues like you do. They affect everybody the same, right? They feel lonely, there's cheating, they're not being heard, in-laws. So I feel like across the board, kind of like, I don't want to be grim, but like, death is a great equalizer, right? We all kind of experience the same type of problems, maybe in different situations.
Yeah, sometimes it feels heavier.
Right. Now, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong on this, people usually contact you when they're in the middle of a shitstorm. Do you ever see people say, I'm about to get into this storm, I need to talk to you? Do you see those people too?
Yeah.
Okay, there's actually people out there who do that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and I see people who even aren't in a crisis, or they're not in the shitstorm, but they want to build the life they want to live, and that's what therapy can do. Therapy provides so much more than what we might stereotypically think of. We can work on anything. I've talked to people who have come in and were stressed out about their kitchen renovation. And that's what we talked about for, numerous sessions. Because that's life-changing, in that moment, that's what we're struggling with. Wow. So it doesn't really matter. It's whatever the people want to show up and discuss.
I never thought of that. Yeah, I never thought of that. Do you ever get couples who come in right before getting married?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah. Why not start the communication now? Right? Talk about how many kids do we want, since people don't always talk about that. Talk about how do we want to parent if we want kids? How do we want to show up together as a couple? How do we care for our connection?
How would you say you can be an asset to, let's say, an individual who comes to our office at Garcia Law and says, hey, I want to get divorced? How can you be an asset to them? They're about to file for a divorce. How does that look like? What is the strategy or the thought process?
Yeah, individual therapy can be a great asset during a divorce, a separation, even a breakup. It's life-changing. And essentially, it's really a rebuilding time for that individual. And even during that divorce or separation process, we're even maybe living in a new home, navigating our shared relationships, family and friends. And then if we want to get back out there, what does that look like? To go back to what are my non-negotiables now? How do I want to show up differently? What are my wants, needs, and desires? And how do I identify red flags and warning signs?
In your sessions, I'm guessing people talk about red flags. Do you ever tell them, well, maybe that is not a red flag, or it's just based on perception, right? Because what could be a red flag for me is not a red flag for you.
I mean, there's some standard red flags out there. Yeah. I tell people, if you're doing the dating app thing, it's don't go for somebody that says they don't want a committed relationship if you want a committed relationship. That's a red flag. Kids is a big one too, right?
Kids.
That could be a red flag.
Okay. Oh, I get this a lot. I want kids. My spouse says, I'm open to kids. Mm-hmm. But it's a stringing along process. And then 3, 4 years, 5 years go down the road, and it's I said I was open to kids. I never said I wanted one. Mm-hmm. You see that a lot. Which
is why coming into couples before you get married is big. Yeah.
So, when you sign up for your wedding registry, you should put down a therapy session. It would help. It would go a long way. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm sure you see a lot of it because we feel it too, right, as attorneys, and I can only imagine what you feel. At the end of the day, Erika, you're a person. Mm-hmm. You're a person with feelings, with emotions, you feel burdens, you feel all that. How is it, day in and day out, hearing people's problems? Does it take a toll? How does that feel?
I mean, there's a high burnout rate in my field. I've seen it, I felt it. But yeah, I'm a human. And I was born with a ton of empathy and Catholic guilt, which is real, okay. So I have to really keep myself in check. Boundaries is huge. So not only setting a boundary, it works 2 ways. If I set the boundary, I have to hold the boundary. Okay. Right? A lot of people say, I set a boundary, it didn't work. So we talk about it. And I ask them, did you hold that boundary? And they're like, no. So we got to set it and hold it. And I have to do the same thing for myself.
So for example, are you talking about let's say I don't work past 7, mm-hmm. and then the client calls you and says, oh, I really can only do 7:30s on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mm-hmm. Is that where you say, my boundary is 7?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. I'll say, I would just let it be known that that's not the time that I can work. And then I have to hold it. Even though it can be tempting to be all right, maybe. Right. And then the likelihood of it happening again and again. But that's not healthy, for me, at least.
Because I can imagine, because if in sessions you're telling them, hold your boundary in your relationship, but you don't do it in their relationship. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah. What do you do to decompress as a professional psychotherapist?
Yeah, so I was an athlete, so movement's important, especially because I chose a career that I sit all day. So I try to get outside as much as I can, take walks. I work out 6 days a week. So I do yoga, Peloton, gym classes.
Do Peloton?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's your favorite instructor?
So it depends on the class.
Okay, I agree.
Bike boot camp,
Who?
Jess Sims or Tunde.
I love Tunde.
Yeah, she's great.
I do Peloton too, by the way.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
She's also really good with like the arms.
Strength. I take her strength
Yeah.
training. Yeah.
I mean, her arms are.
Yeah, she's
cut.
Tunde, if you're watching ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call us. Yeah.
Okay, and what about the bike?
So the bike, so it depends too. For music, Jess King.
I love Jess King. So
Yeah.
you like EDM?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
And then
Okay.
Alex Toussaint. I love
get into
his.
Alex.
I
Okay.
love his style. He reminds me of a lot of coaches
Yes.
that I had growing up. So
Okay.
that really works. If I want to laugh, Cody.
Of course. But okay, so that was a quick Peloton tangent. But okay, so Peloton, what else? To decompress.
I do yoga.
Yoga.
Yeah.
Okay.
I work at my local studio, and I'm a karma yogi.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, so it's acts of service.
Gotcha.
So basically, I'm the one that like checks you in the morning.
Gotcha.
Like, good morning.
So I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because I know doing divorces, family law, domestic violence, it does take a toll too. And what I learned from this profession kind of helps me back at home, right, with my relationship. So what do you see day in and day out? What's the number one thing that you've learned or it's opened your eyes to say, wow, because of my profession, I can do or do not do this in my relationship?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I've seen over the years for myself and what I've really worked on is it's like, how do I want to show up in this world? And for me, whether it's in my relationships with my boyfriend or if it's with my family or my friends or even just like random people on the street, for me, it's like I really want to show up with friendliness, compassion, delight, and disregard. So that's like a yoga thing.
Gotcha.
Keys and locks. So, friendliness can be easy, right? You say hello, you open the door, you smile. Compassion. So, can I help somebody within reason, right? Can I help my neighbor out?
Okay.
And then delight, which is the opposite of jealousy.
Right.
So instead of being maybe jealous of someone, can I be delighted? And if I find myself stuck on that jealousy, can I ask myself, is that something I want? And if it is, what can I do to help meet my goal?
That's a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I'm a therapist.
You're taking me on a journey.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then disregard. This one's hard. This one's hard for me.
It's disregard?
Disregard. So disregard the wicked. That's what they say. Disregard the wicked. So the wicked of others and the wicked of internal. So not holding on to people's nastiness.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah. Or not letting my internal tape dictate how I show up. So if I'm feeling not good enough or like an imposter, how do I disregard that? Especially when we're feeling vulnerable.
Right.
Like it's so much easier to hold on to that.
Of course.
Versus maybe on a day that we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. But a day when we're vulnerable, and vulnerability shows up a lot. It can come in from like not sleeping, not eating, being nervous, Okay. We can hold on to it.
Wow, okay. Huh. So let me ask you a few rapid fire questions, some fun stuff now.
Yeah.
Okay. So Backstreet Boys and NSYNC or 98 Degrees, which one?
In sync.
Okay.
First concert. Lance Bass.
Lance?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, he's such a babe. Yeah.
Okay.
I already answered your question. Yeah, just a babe. Yeah.
Favorite EDM artist?
I do like Swedish House Mafia. That's a little bit of a throwback.
No.
And they were like supposed to like get back together. I don't know if they did.
Yeah, they already released a bunch of songs, even one with Alicia Keys. By the way, I love Alicia Keys, yeah. Swedish House Mafia is going to, give me another one.
I did love Avicii.
Oh, no, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I agree with those, okay. And then if you were not a professional psychotherapist, what profession would you be in?
I would definitely do like travel stuff, not necessarily like a travel agent,
Right.
but like a travel tour guide or something like that.
Two more questions I want to ask you. One, give me a client success story, something that the viewers can relate to say, wow, okay, she could do that for someone, or these sessions resulted in this. One good feel-good story.
Yeah. So fortunately, I feel like I have a lot of good feel-good stories. But not too long ago, I was working with a young professional. She was actually an attorney.
Oh.
Love working with attorneys. She came to me, I'm not saying this for everybody, she came to me though with high levels of anxiety,
I wonder why.
relationship stressors, and struggling to find a work-life balance. Sound familiar?
A little bit.
Yeah, yeah. And then through our time together, we recognized that her anxiety was actually daily panic attacks that she didn't realize, in her words, weren't normal. She thought everybody had them every day. And then through CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, we worked on her all or nothing thinkings and challenging her patterns of behavior.
What are all or nothing thinkings? I'm sorry.
So extreme thinkings, kind of this idea of this or that, or what people might call black or white thinking, very polarized. Perfectionism behavior. I'm either going to be perfect or I'm not going to do it.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So no balance.
Gotcha. Wow. And how did she come out from all of this?
So with her relationships, she had some struggles with her parents and then also her boyfriend at the time. And we navigated like the pressures that she put on herself and the comparison she made, which also left her very angry and upset. So we worked on boundary setting. And through our time together, her panic attacks actually stopped. We navigated a career job change, and she actually got engaged.
She's still a lawyer?
Still a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
But left this one firm, which was a little toxic, and went into, she actually was in New Jersey and then went to a different state.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she got engaged to the same person?
She did.
Oh, wow.
They had broken up, gotten back together.
Wow.
And then we were really working on like the way that they communicated. And I used some Imago techniques with her. She was very much like the octopus in the relationship. He was a little bit, from her perspective, the turtle. So we looked at ways that we can communicate a little bit more effectively and show up differently and really stretch for ourselves. So she stretched for herself and for her partner, which means getting uncomfortable, maybe doing something a little bit out of our norm.
Would you classify yourself as an octopus or a turtle? I know I'm the octopus.
Yeah, I would say I'm more of the octopus in the sense of wanting to fix and to make sure things are right. I'm more of a people pleaser, I would say, by like nature, if I had to categorize myself as that. So yeah, I find myself to have more like octopus tendencies. But I don't have like the, let's say, what some people might have like big angry emotions. That's not me. But octopuses come in many forms.
Wow. Wow. And then I want to ask, why should our viewers choose Voyage Therapy? Why should they choose Erika? What does Erika bring to the table that maybe not many other therapists can offer, right? What's different about Erika?
So I'm an active and engaged therapist with a user-friendly practice style. I have the ability to build rapport quickly with someone due to the comfortable environment that I provide. I lead with authenticity and consistency, and I believe I model behavior for a healthy relationship. I meet the client where they're at, provide skills, tools, and insights to really help the client build the life they want to live. And in my experience, my clients get better, whatever better means to them, and they meet their goals. And I stand by that.
Yeah, because if you can have therapy sessions with like C-suite executives and pro athletes or their spouses, but you also can relate to, you know, middle class, blue collar worker, moms, dads, whoever.
It's about being approachable. And I think that's why being authentic is key.
100%, 100%, 100%. So this brings us to the last part of our segment. What I want to make sure that people know out there is we work in conjunction with Erika, right? Especially with our clients in divorce, family law. And I've discussed this with Erika, and we're proud to announce that if you're viewing this episode out there and you think that maybe you want to send that email to Erika at Voyage Therapy or set up that, you know, first consult. Like Erika said, it's a 15-minute consult, I believe.
Complimentary, yeah.
Complimentary. Say that you're reaching out because you saw this episode at Legal Blend Podcast. And what we're willing to do is, if you are a good fit with Erika, again, if you are a good fit, that you like her vibe, like Erika said, and likewise, she likes the connection that you both could have, we're willing to offer one viewer to cover their first session at Voyage Therapy, right? So the process would be, if Erika, again, determines that you and her are a good fit she'll let us know, and it'll be done through the Legal Blend podcast. You said you saw her on this episode. We'll put two and two together and cover that first therapy session, because we truly believe she can be an asset for any of our viewers out there, whatever walks of life, whatever situation you are in, even if you're in a situationship or not, whether you think you're about to enter that storm, right, and you need the toolkit to better navigate that storm, reach out. There's nothing to lose here, right? So please reach out, whether it's through her Instagram. In our post, we'll list her Instagram page or her email address, which we'll provide. Erika, thank you for stopping by. It was a pleasure to have you. I honestly could talk to you for probably 3 more hours, right? But I wanted to give the viewers an idea of how it is to work with you, what to expect, and get to know you a little bit, right? Because you can be an asset. So thank you very much for coming, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And stretching for you guys,
Yes.
doing something a little bit different.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you, and I'm pretty sure we'll have you back in the near future.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. And
Thank
again, look out for that opportunity to schedule a consult with Erika at Voyage Therapy. Take care.